Well, welcome all. I appreciate your interest in this topic today and for joining the CAI webinar. What we're going to talk about today is not rocket science, but I will say it's probably the three attributes that we're going to be talking about. The more I work with individuals and their organizations, the more I am absolutely convinced that if we focused and paid more attention to what I'm going to talk about today, our projects would deliver more successfully and our organizations would be reaping better ROI because the delivery results would not only be successful, but they'd be realizing the benefits that they were meant to, that were identified. So what is really trending today? And this is not really new news, but I think more and more, especially in your larger organizations, we are running our businesses by projects. And what does this mean? It means that rather than rotely identifying activities and tasks in a work breakdown structure and project plan, yes, we assign resources to those activities. But also what our resources want to know is what is the bigger picture? What is the context within which my project is working, and how does it solve a challenge for the organization? So the concept has become more of a psychological phenomena signaling both activity and efficiency, and modern-day people seem to enjoy the intensity of project work. Project work is really more than just producing something. It means accepting individual responsibility and making an important, and this is a critical word, creative contribution as part of a team effort. We're invoking our right brain and not just our left brain when we talk about project work. It is a team effort, which means the exchange of knowledge and information, including, and this is also important, being responsible and accountable, owning personal and creative participation to make an effort to forge good working relationships. And yes, that takes time, it takes energy, but working through those bumpy parts to forge a real working relationship reaps very positive benefits. So people engage in projects that provide both meaningful and stimulating problems to solve. And the picture in the upper left-hand corner is actually, it's titled A Cybertecture Egg Building, and it was built by Vijay Associates in Mumbai, India. So that's a real-life example. Example of a building called the Piano Building in Anhui Province, China. It's located in Anhui, a province of China, and inside the transparent violin is the staircase to the building upstairs. A creative example, here is an upside-down house. It was designed by Daniel Sapewski and is located in the tiny village of Zimbark in Poland. Being stimulating, and we talk about being creative, and that really crosses all types of industries. So to the human behavior. Well, human behavior is unpredictable. In uncertain, complex, fast-paced environments. And so it's important to understand human behavior and how we can uniquely manage it. Do that by becoming self-aware, and I had mentioned the Deborah group does assessments, and part of the assessment findings are identifying what within ourselves we need to be aware of from a strength or weakness perspective. So when we understand our behaviors, both based on natural and or adapted styles, a natural style would be indicative of the environment we've grown up in and our life's experiences on our journey, and the adapted styles based on how we've been taught we need to behave in a certain circumstance. Becoming self-aware, we can also become better other-aware and learn how to read people, what their communication styles are, what their workplace motivators and values are. And what's the reason for that? Well, it can improve workplace relations as far as collaboration, better communication, in our projects and in our organization, in our project teams and our organizations at large, we can gain work efficiencies and deliver successful projects. I'm going to pause and ask the audience, does anyone work in a perfect environment? If not, then what are your true pain points? Project work, especially if it's a technical project, we think about science, we think about black and white, but that's not really what the world is all about. We really live in a gray environment. Our component relates to managing and working with people. Being socially aware includes striving toward emotional intelligence and, in general, learning how to connect with people, even in a virtual environment. It's possible and it's necessary. And without striving toward that, the social costs are poor human relations, low morale, employee turnover, which negatively affects an organization's profitability. So again, we're not talking about anything that's rocket science. We're really talking about getting back to basics and keeping things simple. Because by doing so and focusing on a few basic principles, we can help navigate that very complex, squishy, messy, dynamic, and global environment. So I want to mention at this point that today's presentation will not focus so much on how to achieve bottom line results, yet it will ultimately offer ways to ensure successful project delivery to meet organizational goals and objectives. And to set the context for today's presentation, the content is from original research conducted at the University of Pennsylvania. The people interviewed were mid-level career professionals who worked in a cross-section of industry sectors, including pharmaceutical, insurance, energy, IT, higher learning, and business consultants. Also part of research through years of project management work in Fortune 100 companies. Here are a few what we call interpersonal skills or social characteristics. And if you go out and you poll people, they may have, you could ask many people, each would give you a different answer or a combination of what interpersonal skills they believe are important. Here's a listing of what you typically hear when you go out and you survey folks. The good news is that interpersonal skills are inherent personality traits. We're born with them. But the good news part of that is that they can be learned experientially and can be enhanced in a formal classroom setting. Thus, you have organizations like Toastmasters where if people want to learn to communicate, facilitate, and hone their presentation skills, they do a lot of practicing, and they have people that are skilled in teaching them how to do that. So Richard Dawson on the Family Feud, the survey says communication, leadership, and team building are the three high-impact social characteristics or interpersonal skills. Repeat those and then pause for a minute. Communication, number one, leadership versus management, and team building. Now I'm going to pause for just a minute, and I'm going to ask you to reflect on your current team, a project that you're working on, or your organization, and think about any of those pain points